my parents called me incompetent for $4.7 million. Then I walked into court as a Navy captain.
My parents did not recognize me when I walked into the courtroom. My father stared at the medals on my white Navy uniform. My mother looked at the 4 gold stripes on my sleeves, then turned to her attorney and whispered that there had to be some mistake. There was no mistake. For 23 years, they had told people I was unstable, unemployed, and incapable of managing my own life. Now they were asking a Virginia judge to give them control of the $4.7 million my grandmother had left me. What they did not know was that I had spent most of my adult life dealing with people who lied for money. And before that morning ended, I was going to prove that my parents were exactly those kinds of people. My name is Evelyn Carter, though the people I trust call me Eve. I was 48 years old when my grandmother, Rose Carter, died. Grandma Rose was the only person in my family who never treated love like a business agreement. My father, Richard, owned a real estate company in Richmond. My mother, Diane, cared about charity galas, country clubs, and photographs that made our family look perfect. When I was young, they had already planned my entire future. I was supposed to marry someone useful, join my father's company, and help protect the Carter name. Instead, I went to law school and joined the Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps. My father called it a waste of an expensive education. My mother said a woman in uniform would embarrass the family. When I refused to resign, they stopped inviting me home. At first, I kept trying to win them back. I mailed birthday cards. I called on holidays. I sent photographs from different duty stations. Most of my calls went unanswered. Then, after I received my first major promotion, my father contacted me for the first time in almost 2 years. He did not ask whether I was safe. He asked if my new position could help one of his business partners get a federal contract. I told him no. He called me ungrateful and disappeared again. That was when I stopped telling my parents anything important. They knew I had joined the Navy, but they did not know I stayed. They did not know I became a senior military attorney. They did not know I advised commanders, led legal teams, and earned the rank of captain. Whenever a relative asked about me, my mother said I did temporary government work and had never settled down. I let her say it. Privacy gave me something their approval never had. It gave me peace. Grandma Rose knew the truth. She kept every photograph I sent her. She watched my promotion ceremonies online. When I came home, she never asked what my rank could do for her. She only asked if I was eating enough and whether I was happy. 3 months before her death, she called me late at night. Her voice sounded steady, but she asked me a strange question. She wanted to know whether a person could steal money without taking cash. I asked her what had happened. She said my father had begun bringing papers for her to sign. He told her they were routine documents connected to the family company. After she refused, my mother started visiting every day and warning her that she would soon need someone to manage her accounts. Grandma was 86, but her mind was sharp. She still balanced her checkbook to the penny. She had noticed 3 transfers she did not recognize. Together, they totaled $86,000. I wanted to confront my parents immediately. Grandma stopped me. She said she did not want another family performance. She wanted facts. So I helped her contact Sarah Miles, an independent elder, law attorney in Richmond. Sarah arranged a medical competency evaluation, changed the passwords on Grandma's accounts, and ordered copies of every recent transaction. The missing money had been sent to a consulting company controlled by my father. Grandma was heartbroken, but she was not surprised. 2 weeks later, she signed a new will and moved most of her assets into a protected trust. She left me the remaining estate, valued at about 4.7 million. She left my parents $1 each and a written explanation that they had already taken more than she ever intended to give them. I told her I did not want the money to destroy the family. She said the money would not destroy anything. It would only reveal what was already broken. Grandma died in her sleep 6 weeks later. My parents arrived at the funeral dressed like grieving children. My mother cried loudly beside the casket. My father gave a speech about devotion and family duty. Neither of them spoke to me until the next morning. My father called and asked when the will would be read. That was the moment I understood Grandma had been right. As soon as the estate documents were filed, my parents challenged them. They claimed Grandma had not been competent. They also claimed I had used my supposed mental instability to manipulate her. Then they went further. They filed a petition asking the court to place my inheritance under their control. According to them, I had no stable career, no husband, no children, and a long history of imaginary achievements. My father said I sometimes called myself a Navy captain, even though no one in the family had ever seen proof. My mother described my privacy as paranoia. She said my refusal to discuss my work showed that I was hiding a serious condition. Their petition included a report from a doctor I had never met. He had never examined me. He had simply repeated what my parents told him and suggested that I might be suffering from delusions. I had spent years listening to polished people present false stories with confidence. Still, reading those words hurt more than I expected. My parents had ignored me for decades. Now they had rewritten my entire life because they wanted my money. Sarah became my attorney. She told me the claims were weak, but she was worried about one detail. My parents knew the exact value of the trust before that amount became public. Only Grandma, Sarah, and the bank should have known. We started looking. The bank's security department found that someone had accessed Grandma's online account 3 weeks before her death. The login came from an internet address registered to my parents' home. Then Sarah examined the attachments my parents had filed with the court. One was a copy of a private bank statement. In the corner was a faint printer code. That code matched the model and serial number of the printer in my father's office. The $86,000 was no longer the only suspicious transfer. A forensic accountant found 5 more payments, hidden as property maintenance and consulting fees. The total was $312,000. Every payment led back to my father's company. When my parents realized we were investigating, they offered me a settlement. I could keep $150,000 if I signed the rest of the estate over to them and agreed never to discuss the case. My mother included a personal note. She wrote that this was my last chance to return to the family. I read that sentence 3 times. Then I gave the note to Sarah and told her to add it to our evidence. A week before the hearing, we discovered the ugliest part. My parents had submitted an email that appeared to show me threatening Grandma. In it, I supposedly told her that I would expose the family unless she changed her will. I had never written it. The message looked convincing, but the address had one extra letter. A digital examiner traced the recovery phone number on the fake account to my mother. That email changed the case. This was no longer just a selfish fight over an inheritance. It was a planned deception. Sarah asked whether I wanted to expose everything in open court. I thought about settling quietly. Part of me still wanted to protect the family name, even though the family had never protected me. Then I remembered Grandma's words. Money reveals what is already broken. I told Sarah we would go to court. The hearing fell on the same day. I was scheduled to speak at a retirement ceremony for one of my officers. I could have changed clothes between the 2 events, but I decided not to. For 23 years, my parents had used my silence as evidence that I had accomplished nothing. I was finished helping them tell that lie. I entered the courtroom in my white service dress uniform. The room went quiet. My father rose halfway out of his chair. My mother stared at me as if I were a stranger. In a way, I was. They had never bothered to know the woman standing in front of them. Sarah began with my service record. She explained that I was Captain Evelyn Carter, an active duty Navy attorney with 23 years of service. I supervised more than 40 legal professionals and held a high-level security clearance. I had received multiple commendations and had passed financial and medical reviews throughout my career. The doctor who had questioned my competence admitted that he had never spoken to me. He had relied entirely on statements from my parents. The judge asked whether he knew I was an active duty officer. He said he did not. My father then testified that he had been forced to act because I was disconnected from reality. Under questioning, Sarah asked him to identify the source of the private bank statement. He said Grandma had given it to him. Sarah displayed the account, access record, and the printer identification. My father's face changed. Next came the transfers. Sarah showed the court how $312,000 had moved from Grandma's accounts into companies connected to my father. He called them legitimate business expenses. There was one problem. Grandma had recorded a statement with Sarah 2 weeks before she died. The video appeared on the courtroom screen. Grandma sat upright in her blue living room chair. She clearly stated her name, the date, the value of her estate, and the names of her doctors. Then she explained that she had never approved the transfers to my father's companies. She said she was leaving the estate to me because I was the only person who had helped her without asking for anything in return. My mother began crying. This time, no one rushed to comfort her. Sarah saved the false email for last. The digital examiner explained the extra letter in the address and identified my mother's phone as the recovery number. My mother claimed she did not understand technology. Sarah then produced the settlement note she had sent me from the same device. The judge looked at my parents for a long time. He dismissed their challenge with prejudice, which meant they could not file it again. He confirmed the trust and ordered them to pay my legal costs. He also referred the evidence involving the transfers and fabricated email to the Commonwealth's attorney and Adult Protective Services. But the moment I remember most came after the ruling. My father turned toward me and quietly said that I had humiliated them for the first time in my life. His anger did not make me feel small. I told him I had not humiliated him. I had simply stopped hiding the evidence. The consequences continued after court. My father's company had to repay the full $312,000 to Grandma's estate. He later accepted a plea agreement related to the unauthorized transfers. My mother avoided jail, but she received probation for her role in creating the false email. They sold their vacation home to cover restitution, taxes, and legal bills. Some relatives accused me of going too far. They said, I should have protected my parents because they were family. I asked where that concern had been when my parents called me mentally incompetent, forged evidence, and tried to steal my inheritance. No one had an answer. I did not spend the inheritance on a mansion or a luxury car. I kept Grandma's small brick house because it was the only place where I had always felt welcome. I used part of the money to create the Rose Carter Legal Fund, which helps older people obtain independent advice when relatives pressure them over money. The first person we helped was a 79-year-old widow whose nephew was trying to force her to sign over her home. When she kept her house, she held my hands and thanked me. I wished Grandma could have seen it. Several months later, Sarah gave me a sealed envelope that Grandma had asked her to keep until the case was over. Inside was a letter and a photograph from my promotion to captain. Grandma had printed it from the ceremony video. On the back, she had written that she was proud of the life I built without anyone's permission. Her letter ended with one sentence. She said she had not left me the money because I needed to be rescued. She left it to me because, out of everyone in the family, I was the only one who understood that love was not something you could own. I framed that sentence beside my service photograph. My parents went to court to prove I was incapable of owning my future. Instead, they proved they had never deserved a place in it.